Former Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta, he's speaking out, criticizing his former boss, the president, in a new book. His book, Worthy Fights, a memoir of leadership in war and peace, is a book that Panetta speaks very directly about how distant President Obama is and how he failed to work with Congress and missed opportunities to take military action in both Syria and Iraq. He says the president, quote, avoids the battle, complains, and misses opportunities. He also said, I think it offended him that people would not really get serious and work on the issues. I think as a result of that, he just felt, how can I deal with people that simply won't want to do the right thing for the country? Panetta says, well, the reality is, if you want to govern in this country, you have to deal with people that you don't like. He also argued that ISIL would not be as much of a threat as it is today if the U.S. left forces in Iraq.
Back when you watched the Stars and Stripes being lowered for the last time in Baghdad, were you confident in that moment that pulling out was the right thing to do?
No, I wasn't. I really thought that it was important for us to maintain a presence in Iraq.
And again, Panetta brings 40 years experience. This isn't even his first memoir, it's his second one. But formerly CIA director, formerly longtime congressman. He served in multiple administrations. Okay, at least from the outside, it does feel that the president was dealt a tough hand, working with an intractable Congress. But there does seem, if not a sense of defeatism sometimes, that he's been called a professor-in-chief, and I don't think that's an unfair characterization, Dominic, that he just said, you know what, there are children, I don't want to deal with them. But unfortunately, somebody's got to be the adult in the room.
Perhaps some of the criticism is accurate, perhaps, but let's keep in mind that Panetta is selling a book. Let's remember that, number one. He didn't speak out when he was there. He didn't speak out as soon as he left. He's speaking out now that he's pushing a book on 60 Minutes. So you have to, I'm not trying to defend Mr. Obama, but thirdly here, you have to remember how this man got to the White House. He pulled out 80,000 people in Denver and all over the country on the premise of ending the war in Iraq. Now, maybe it was not the greatest strategy to pull out completely.
Well, just for time purposes, let's avoid, and I know it's unfair since that's a huge part of his administration, the war, okay, the wars.
But
and just deal with his governing style with Congress.
But we don't know his governing style.
Of course we
know.
do.
Here's what we know, Richard. He's the first black president. Let's cut through all the nonsense. Let's cut through all the nonsense.
You were doing so well.
He's the first black president, and you'll see how he's going to write about race when he writes his book when he leaves office.
He is subject to legitimate criticism.
Yeah, I didn't say he wasn't subject to legitimate criticism.
You played the race card, Dominic.
But you can't blame him.
You played the
Of
race
course
card.
you can.
Wait,
He's president for everybody.
But how can you blame him when Congress won't work with him?
Because if he's at fault for not having effectively engaged him, it's a legitimate criticism. I don't care if he's black, white, blue, or purple. There are criticisms of Barack Obama that are valid and should be heard. On the other hand, that book is not a one-note criticism.
No, it's not.
No. It's full of praise for him.
Absolutely.
Okay, second of all, let me see if I get this right. It's 6 years later. We're out of 2 wars. Unemployment's at a 10-year low. The economy is recovering. We're not engaged in military adventurism. We've got coalitions going on other difficult areas. If you're going to judge Obama, don't just judge him on his aloofness or his mistakes, which there are plenty. Fundamentally, he changed the direction of the country he inherited, and it's for the better, and people don't understand that.
I don't think he had anything to do with the economy. Most people, unemployment is down because people aren't reporting that they're unemployed anymore.
Unemployment is down because they've created 200,000 jobs a month.
Guys,
for
let's agree to this much. Let's agree to this much. Factually, we know if the polls hold in 3 weeks, the Democrats are going to do bad. The belief of Congress is that in an all-time record in this country, less than 7% of the public actually thinks they're doing a good enough job. All that said, the approval ratings of the president are down too. And he has himself said that Congress is dysfunctional, we don't get enough done. I just feel, and I know I'm not alone in this, and I voted for the guy twice, okay, that I expected more engagement from him than just saying it's hard. It's not supposed to be easy. Yes, he's a black president. I recognize that. You know, I thank you for pointing that out to me. But I do think at a certain point, you're supposed to go to the public and sell it. He has more ability than that than any president of my lifetime, and he shuts down at times. And something as silly as the golf thing, you know, I don't want to, you should be dealing with people not just that you like. You should be dealing with people across the aisle, and whether they like to hear it or not, you got to keep trying.
But what do you do when they don't want to work with you?
You don't give up, Dominic. You don't give up.
When they publicly say we're not working with him.
Well, that's not.
Is he
look,
the first?
John,
Is he the first executive, whether it's governor, president, or anyone else, that's got a difficult legislature to work with? Come on, he
John
could have
Boehner's
gone to the
gonna
American
work with
public.
him before.
Oh,
John
now you
Boehner.
lost.
John
All right.
Boehner can't even control his own members.
I'm here. I'm helping you, Richard, and there you go
He
with
doesn't
John
need
Boehner.
to.
All right.
If he get
What-
Democratic support and the
I'll let
Republicans he
Richard
can
try and
control,
sell
that
this
was
one.
done.
No, it's fine. When we come back here, we're going to head to New York's 19th Congressional District, where Sean Eldridge facing off against incumbent Chris Gibson. Eldridge, he's speaking about to us about the race here and why he still thinks, even though the polls say otherwise, he's got a good shot.